Joshua, the NBA Finals are going on currently. It's Monday, June 10th. We've watched 2 games in the NBA Finals, and the last time you saw me, it was a happy experience. We were having lots of fun. I was having lots of laughs. The laughs are stopping as of right now. It's time to lock in, boys, because this is Zero Gravity. Follow Media's NBA podcast brought to you by Big City Wings, Houston's Wing Joint, Apollo's Wing Joint. Go check them out if you're in the Houston area today. Go check out Prize Picks, our daily fantasy sponsor. It's where you hit more or less on every sport, every stat, every player, every night, every game. We love Prize Picks. It's a daily fantasy thing, so it's not sports betting. It's fantasy sports. You can make a lot of money on Prize Picks. Use code Apollo when you sign up and get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. Shout out to Prize Picks. Shout out to Big City Wings. Shout out to you, Josh. We're 2 games into the NBA Finals, but we're not going to lead off with that. The biggest news in the NBA happened over the last 4 or 5 days.
But first of all, shout out to you because you're the one who's having to bear witness, just like we all are, to what's going on. There's a lot of holes in everyone's game here, fixable holes. Mm-hmm. Take me to Dallas, win 2 in Dallas. It's very possible. Mm-hmm. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. I don't want to get your hopes up. As for right now, Dan Hurley just taking the Lakers job and just sticking both middle fingers up and saying to his recruits, to his kids, I did not coach. I avoided my life coaching LeBron James to coach you. Yeah. So I think that's the greatest recruiting tactic of all time. I think UConn could probably win about 3 in the next 5 years if this keeps up. It's been 2 years. This fuckery can't go on for much longer. College basketball is in shambles.
This is incredible. It's going to come up. We'll stop this.
Let's stop while we're ahead.
No, I won't. I just won't.
I love this shit.
Yeah. So Dan Hurley is offered the Lakers job. It started over the weekend. What was it? Saturday, and it started popping up. Friday, Saturday, and Woj obviously is reporting this, putting Shams in a body bag, and it turns out that basically Dan Hurley was talking to Woj and was like, "Hey, let's leak this stuff. I get more money out of UConn. You get to break news. Win-win situation for everyone here. I'll leak everything and anything you want to know." So basically, the Lakers are recruiting Dan Hurley, and it's been that way since the beginning. Unlike what Shams has tweeted out, that JJ Redick has been at the forefront of the coaching search for the Lakers since the beginning. Woj then comes out of nowhere and it's like, Dan Hurley has been at the forefront of the Lakers coaching search since the beginning. Just completely undermining what Shams had tweeted out. Gotta love the journalism wars, the Twitter wars. It's great. Then the Lakers offer him the job. They fly him out to LA. They offer, was it 7 seasons, $80 million? So $11.6 million per year, which is a full $1.5 million short of what Kentucky had offered him for 5 years. Like Kentucky was offering $13 million a year for him to leave UConn. And the Lakers lowball him essentially and give him the 6th highest coach salary in the NBA. That's what they offered. That's what you do when you want to woo the number 1 candidate in the room that you were trying to steal away from, like a perfect job in college right now. I mean, he's got it made, winning back-to-back national titles at a powerhouse blue blood of UConn. Like it should take a little bit more to lure him away from Storrs, Connecticut. And today, Monday, it comes out that Dan Hurley is walking into practice at 2 p.m. or 1:45 p.m. Central Standard Time, and he's back. He turned down the Lakers, spurned them, and it's very funny. It's very funny that the Lakers can't get anyone to take their job right now.
You're getting the Monty Williams treatment for the best candidate probably right now, like you mentioned, and just seeing this all go down, you would think that the Lakers could at least offer him 8 years, $100 million? Or
I thought that's
are we talking like
yes, but
yeah, like JJ Redick the player money? Like it's so funny to me that front office guys and coaching guys make, of course, give or take a 4th or sometimes a 5th now less than the best players, which I get in most cases because obviously the players are marketable. The coaches aren't unless you have Chris Finch on his little stool on the bench there. There's not really much marketability to get from these coaches. But just seeing the Lakers lowball Dan Hurley and knowing what's going to happen next, is this going to be a tie, almost a what comes to my brain is like a Ty Lue situation, or God willing, JJ Redick. If JJ Redick becomes the coach of the Lakers, I think we halfway talked about this, but
Yeah.
does their podcast get stronger or does it dissolve? What are we thinking here?
Yeah, I think it dissolves like immediately until LeBron retires. And then if LeBron retires and
Yeah.
JJ's like, yeah, I kind of like the announcing gig better. He's like the opposite of Steve Kerr. He does the announcing and then goes to coaching and realizes he doesn't like coaching. So he just goes back to announcing. I would love that because I don't want JJ Redick to be taken away from me. I learn a lot from him. I enjoy his podcast. I enjoy all the content he creates. It makes me a smarter basketball fan. It makes everyone that listens to him a smarter basketball fan. We need more smarter basketball fans. We need to get rid of the stupid basketball fans.
Yes,
We need to have basketball fans. And taking JJ Redick's podcast away makes everyone stupider.
Absolutely. This leads to an even better segue where LeBron James is the subject on First Take in the middle of a pretty decent-ish so far NBA Finals. Again, we'll get to that. Kendrick Perkins being unfollowed by LeBron James, them talking about it for 10 minutes on First Take this morning when so much could be happening, is happening in the sports world that you can talk about. It completely boggles my mind. I get that it's basketball centric, especially when football season is like a ways away, sure. But we're talking about people that aren't and haven't been involved for weeks, going on months now. The sports media cycle is so tiring, and it leads to an even bigger conversation of, do Shannon Sharp and Stephen A. Smith know that this medium is kind of dying? And JJ Redick, of all people, this came out of nowhere. If you told me JJ Redick would be the leader of sports podcasting in 2024, 2 years out of when he started, I'd be like, holy shit. I used to watch this guy play when I was a kid. Oh my God. And he's incredibly smart, incredibly knowledgeable, and makes the game very accessible for everyone. So why wouldn't the needle turn back to what we've been used to? And it reminds me back of like prime, pardon the interruption days, when Kornheiser and Wilbon were actually on top of their game, and Mike Wilbon wasn't saying that Tim Hardaway Jr. should be leading the charge for the Dallas Mavericks in the year 2024. It boggles my mind. This medium is going to get flipped upside down, and it is kind of refreshing that JJ Redick is at the top of that.
Yeah. All right. You've already brought up Michael Wilbon. We have to jump into this. Game 2, pregame, Michael Wilbon says that the Dallas Mavericks have to get Tim Hardaway Jr. going. He only played 7 minutes in game 1. It was a blowout, game 1. He comes in and just was like, fill some minutes, just play basketball, run up and down the court, get some cardio in. He played 0 minutes in the last 3 games of the Minnesota series. He played 5 minutes and 2 minutes in the 2 games before then. Like, he stopped playing basketball during the playoffs because he is unplayable on defense. He is literally unplayable on defense. So, Michael Wilbon, let's cut this one back. Bill Simmons is still with ESPN. He basically takes Michael Wilbon's spot on NBA Countdown. He kicked Michael Wilbon off of NBA Countdown, and they never put him back on. For all these years since Bill Simmons been fired from ESPN, Michael Wilbon has never been on it. Till game 2 of the NBA Finals, that's when we're going to trial run this guy again. He's terrible. He doesn't watch the sport. He doesn't pay attention to it. I've had my qualms with Michael Wilbon. Bill Simmons has done 2 great things in this world. He has made sports podcasting like an actual job where you can actually go make money and interesting and make content out of it. The Podfather, as some are saying. And kicking Michael Wilbon off of NBA Countdown on ESPN. Those are the 2 good things that Bill Simmons has done in this world and filled my ears for like Monday, Wednesday, Fridays for the last 7 years or so, 8 years, maybe 10 years, actually, 14. With either hatred or joy. You never know what you're going to get with a Bill Simmons podcast. How are we saying that Tim Hardaway Jr. deserves to play basketball right now for this team? He's the 3rd highest paid player on the Dallas Mavericks, and he cannot produce anything worth a damn in the NBA Finals. Why would we even pay attention to it? I don't know. But JJ Redick, very good. Very funny that the Lakers still don't have a head coach.
At this current juncture, you'd think that this should have happened like last week. And again, this leads to even a bigger conversation. Darvin Ham being on the Milwaukee Bucks coaching staff. This is awesome. This is the best team ever assembled. If Dame and Giannis run it back, best case scenario, second round loss.
First round
I'm
exit.
just
First round.
fueling my future. Oh my goodness, I love it. I'm fueling my future hatred like a year away. This is the best possible hate watching is just looking from the sidelines, no pun intended. Like everybody's hands are in their pockets. Everybody is pissed off. Nobody has a smile on their face. Just in this in even looking back at what's happened with the Hulu series, with the Clippers series on Hulu,
Yeah.
this could be a whole episode within of itself. I mean, the casting incredible, the scenes incredible. Oh my god, you want to talk about a summer book club? We could get episodes out of this shit. Winning Time being one of the best shows, sports TV shows on television in a long time, and then you get this LA Clippers show on Hulu, which Hulu's got some shows not
Yeah.
sponsored. Fuck That's Delicious, Action Bronson, Big Body Bass, Mayhem Loren, The Alchemist, incredible
It's
stuff.
a good time.
But just seeing the fall from grace with sports TV shows, Challengers almost is going to reel me back in. But then when it comes to this other form of media, I'm like, oh fuck, you can also mess this up really badly. And here we are, the Doc Rivers casting in real life and in the show, and Darvin Ham being casted away from LA in real life, being casted to Milwaukee in real life. This is incredible. The NBA never stops. Young Thug said, horses don't stop. They keep going. This is what we're at. This is where we're at in June. And I fucking love this shit, man.
Yeah. So back to the Lakers. One thing I got to say, there was a tweet from Dragonfly Jones. If you don't follow him on Twitter, he's an impeccable just sports Twitter and funny meme guy. He's great. He's awesome. He said that the Dan Hurley failed signing to lure him away from UConn is interesting because if LeBron James just didn't want to live in Los Angeles, Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka would be viewed as two of the worst people in sports ownership and organizations. Like they'd just be terrible for their jobs. But because LeBron's like, I just want to live in LA and play for the Lakers instead of the Clippers, they're still viewed as like a top tier organization. When they're lowballing Dan Hurley, if you want to get arguably, I don't even know if Dan Hurley would be a good NBA coach. He's like Nick Saban in my mind. Like he's just
I was just going to say,
quintessential asshole that can turn 18 to 22-year-olds just like their brains into mush to do one title. Like just go get a title, win games. Like you have to be a dictator essentially in a college sport as a head coach to win just multiple national titles in the way that they do. That's Nick Saban. It's Kirby Smart now. It's Dan Hurley. It was Mike Krzyzewski for years. Like it's Roy Williams. Like all these all-time coaches, they're dictators of their programs. They get to do whatever they want and however they want. And the only people they have to answer to is their AD. As long as they're in Final Fours or Elite Eights or winning national titles every once in a while, they get to do whatever they want. So Dan Hurley
absolutely
can do literally whatever he wants with UConn right now. If you're the Lakers, you have to offer him $15 million a year in order to even just be competitive because he's moved from
Yes.
Connecticut, where I don't know what the taxes are like in Connecticut, but I know in California they're going to be way more. His price of living is going to go up. You're going to buy him a house like next to the Staples Center, or what are we doing? Like you're going to put him on in Malibu, or like you're going to Malibu beach house and then a Beverly Hills house. Like you got to pull out all the stops if you want to get your guy. And if that was your guy all along, you didn't do anything. You offered him less money than Monty Williams. I don't know. That it's very funny. And then I'm saving the clipped FX Hulu show for postseason. Like in the off season, I'm just gonna I'm saving my basketball content that I can get for the off season. I've heard that it's very funny and how Winning Time and the Lakers are on HBO and have this giant budget and everyone looks like identical to who they are. They even have Richard Nixon, like they have Norm Nixon's kid playing him in the show, like literally his kid. Magic Johnson and whatever, I can't remember his actor's name, but looks identical to Magic Johnson back then.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, I mean, it was just the perfect casting. Everyone, Jason Segel's in there. Like, it was just an incredible show, incredible casting, incredible cinematography. And then apparently this one is just garbage compared to that. So it's very funny that the Lakers have the best of the best and the Clippers only get the sloppy seconds. So let's move on from that. We're heading into the NBA Finals. If you haven't already, go to Prize Picks. It's our daily fantasy sponsor app. Use code Apollo when you sign up and get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. It's where you hit more or less on every stat. It's very easy to play. You have to hit 2 picks, so 2 players. So if you want to pick in the NBA Finals, pick a Luka Doncic stat and pick a Jaylen Brown stat because Jaylen Brown's the best player on the Celtics. All right. Let's talk about the NBA Finals. Game 1.
Yep.
Blowout city for a while. Gets down to 8 in the third quarter. Late in the third quarter. 3 minutes left, and
I think it was 6 there. No,
it might have been 6. I was at dinner.
Yeah.
I had it on in the club, and I was watching it, ignoring dinner. Essentially, I was taking a bite and staring at the TV the entire time.
Awesome.
Yeah, the guests were like, "I think we've lost them," and I was like, "Yes, you have. You lost me 2 minutes before tip off." So,
Yep.
This is what I wrote down after game 1. It felt eerily similar to Nuggets Mavs in the in-season tournament game in November. It's the very first in-season tournament game that they played. It was a 9:30 game. I remember it. I was watching it in my bed. It was a very close game. It was a 1-point game. It was a 2-point game. The Mavericks were up halfway through the first quarter, 6 minutes left. And then all of a sudden, Denver went on a crazy run and was up like 20 after the first quarter. It's like 40-20 after the first quarter. I was like, what the fuck happened? The rest of the game, the Mavericks called all the way back, and it was a 9-point game, I think, at the end, or 8-point game when they lost. So they won the rest of the game, the next 3 quarters. But the first quarter, they got fucked. Celtics went up 37-20 in the first quarter in game 1. And then the rest of the game, it was 70-69 in favor of the Celtics. So they still won the next 3 quarters, but it was an even game the rest of the way. Obviously, they lose by 18 or whatever it was in game 1. So not ideal. I didn't like that. No one showed up. No one at all on Thursday night, and it was frustrating. Luka hit that 3 to get it to 8, and he did the snarl on the way to the bench. I was like, shit's in the bag, boys.
We're back.
We're so fucking back. And then we literally left dinner at that point, so I put it up on my phone. I get back to the house, turn it on, and it's blowout city again. It was just terrible. So not my best time. What do you think about game 1?
No. Immediate thoughts, and this is what I had written down, was just the consistent drive and kick that I'm seeing from Boston. It's like every single time they go down the floor, somebody messes up on the Mavericks defense, and somebody's wide open.
Yeah.
We talked about this, Al Horford being the X factor, and I hate to bring this back up.
No.
But honestly, you guys are doing a great job at containing him. We said that Al Horford scoring 8 or more points in the last episode will lead to a 34-2 record for the Boston Celtics this year. And in game 2, you held him to 5, which is very impressive considering that he scored all 5 of his points within the first 5 minutes of the game. I
took
think
4 shots, 3 threes.
Yeah. So you guys are doing great on that end. But unfortunately for you guys, it's clear that Boston has just enough. And if you have a bunch of 38, 39, 40% for 3-point shooters, you're just going to win. And it's unfortunate because Dallas only shooting, 25 to 26% from 3 in these games. It's not going to happen. They're missing wide open shots. I pulled up an NBA University tweet here.
Yeah.
Wide open 3-point attempts in the NBA Finals. Dallas is 6 for 24, and then wide open being 6 feet or more. Your nearest defender being away from you.
Yeah.
So that's not going to cut it. I'm not saying Boston is playing great either, because they're not. And that's the only redeemable thing about this series so far is Boston's essentially playing perfect defense.
Mm-hmm.
Their offense has very obvious holes. But Boston's shooting 13 for 36, only 36%. I mean, not ideal, but it works, especially for being wide open. You'd like to be about 40% up or so.
Yep.
This is just a problem because if Dallas can't make shots when they are open, we've mentioned the hero ball that we've noticed off camera. It's very obvious. Game 1, I think there was 9 total assists with the Mavericks team. That's not gonna work.
Was that high?
That's not gonna work at all.
I thought it was 5.
No, it was a solid 9. And if you're getting under 10 assists per game, that's a huge issue.
Yeah.
And I also wrote down, this was after game 1. Kyrie cannot possibly have a bad game. Game 2, he had a terrible game. So I'm completely wrong. But there is something to be said about Kyrie Irving. I don't want to say big moments because he's clearly had the resume so far. He's made it just enough to where you can't shit on the guy. But he's had a couple of stinkers to where you can be like, oh, LeBron bailed him out. Oh, Kevin Love scored 30 when he was 33 years old. That he got bailed out there. There's so many like little nooks and crannies that you can go about every which way this series. Point being with the Mavericks, the role players are not showing up so far. PJ Washington has had his moments. Derek Jones Jr. is spacing the floor well, but it's not ideal. And I'm trying to be really nice here.
No. I pointed out in our text earlier that Boston is playing picture perfect defense. Like the Clippers did this on young Luka 2020, 2021 in those playoff series. They just guarded Luka one-on-one. They never blitzed him. They never put him in a trap. They just trusted their defender. And if Luka was going to put up 50, Luka was going to put up 50. And they were fine with that. They lived with the result. Boston's essentially doing the same thing, but with even better defenders than that somehow, because Kawhi's just never been healthy since 2019. Like, I can't say Kawhi's like the best defender that Luka's played because I don't know if he's ever been healthy guarding Luka. He might have been healthy, but that healthy could have been not healthy. I don't know.
No.
So they're trusting Jaylen Brown. They're trusting Jason Tatum, which I'm going to talk about Jason Tatum in a second.
Conversations. Let's go.
That'll be a conversation for a second. But Luka's putting up a 30-point triple-double, and obviously in game one he only had 1 assist because literally no one could make a fucking basket. It was the most – I just could not understand it. This team looks completely different. And I don't think it's because the lights are bright. I think it's because Boston is that fucking good. All 5 of their guys can defend. And then you got Porzingis off the bench, who's one of the best like rim protectors in the NBA. Like he's elite at blocking shots, and it's just tougher. They're playing the best team that they've played in the playoffs so far. Minnesota obviously had the number 1 defense in the NBA for the regular season, but I think I equate that to more so that their pace of play is slower. So I think there's less possessions as opposed to Boston.
Right.
They can get up and go, or they can slow it down. They can play both ways. But essentially they're letting Luka play one-on-one. And if he finds the open guy, he finds the open guy. And they're living with that because they're playing man-to-man and they're staying on their man. No one's leaving to go help with Luka. If Luka's just going to go get a layup, Luka's just going to go get a layup. If Luka's going to get the step back 3, he's going to get that. But they're not letting him drive and kick like Dallas is letting Boston drive and kick on the opposite side. They're just not staying with their men. They're letting people open, and Drew Holiday was under the basket like 10 times yesterday. And it's frustrating as a fan. And when you're shooting 23% from 3 in game 2, and most of those are open shots, like there was 2 or 3 where it's like, oh, end of the shot clock, chuck it up, whatever. Most of those shots were open, or Luka shooting them. When you have no player on the Mavericks has more than 1 made 3 outside of Luka in this series, and not just in one game, in this series. Like that's completely unacceptable when your job is literally to play defense and hit open threes.
No, brother, this isn't good. I'm going to let you cool your head a second because there's a lot more that we can really delve into. I'm going to just kind of begin my, I guess, ideal thoughts here, which is we thought that Porzingis was just going to stink. Not necessarily stink maybe, but more so it's going to take him a long time to get back. And immediately game 1, I think, what did he score? 23. And these buckets that he was getting, he was throwing elbows in people's faces while getting and ones, while making mid-rangers. It's like you can't fucking beat it if the refs aren't going to help you. And I'm not saying that the Boston Celtics won strictly because of the refs. I'm saying that momentum was started, runs were started because of those plays. And at the end of the day, sure, that does affect games, but obviously right now, for how we're seeing it, even how you're seeing it, Boston is clearly the better team. But there is a lot more holes that I'm seeing in Boston that might not be necessarily a talking point with a lot of heads in the basketball game right now. Immediately, like I said, the drive and kick shit needs to stop. It needs to stop. The help defense is not working. Jason Kidd almost had him in a headlock with that Jaylen Brown comment. Being the best player on the Celtics, which for right now he almost is. Drew Holiday is a close second.
Is what I was going to say.
Drew Holiday. It's Drew Holiday. I'll give Drew Holiday. Look. All around, I'll give it to Drew Holiday in regards to offense and just overall efficiency. We'll give it to Jaylen Brown. So how about we? Right. We'll do a silver medal, gold medal. Everybody gets an equal platform. Right. But immediately, when I'm seeing that, when I'm seeing the Dallas Mavericks play, I hate to be like, oh, the lights aren't bright, because that's almost in a way how I see it, but it is more of a casual thought, like, oh, they're just not playing well because they're inexperienced, But it's deeper than that. It's much deeper than that, like you mentioned, and it really just makes me upset because the Celtics, like you've mentioned, like I've mentioned, are just playing this picturesque defense, and it's not helping when you have a 7'3" guy, a 6'11" guy, when you have Derek White and Drew Holiday who play like they're 6'8", 6'9", but can move like they're 6 feet tall. It's oh my god, it boggles my mind. I'm gonna slow myself down.
This is way worse than the Miami Heat LeBron team. This is the worst, like one of the worst super teams that's ever been created. Like them and the Warriors with Kevin Durant. Like this is what everyone was afraid of when they said super teams. It wasn't ever the LeBron era Heat. That LeBron era Heat was awesome. They had nothing other than those three guys. Ray Allen's old ass legs, like hitting a 3-point saved that whole fucking era for the Miami Heat.
Sure,
Like, legit,
sure.
like retirement Ray Allen and like Mario Chalmers. Like what are like these? This is, I mean, I'm not gonna say he's an all-star, but Derek White got all-star love this year from multiple people. JJ Redick, you will never be able to repay your sins on that one. But he's an incredible player. He plays defense at an all-time level, and he just like blocked. He's like a rim protector. He's like Dwayne Wade was in his prime. He was just blocking shots out of nowhere. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
He plays great point guard, and he doesn't have to have the ball in his hands. He just makes shots. Drew Holiday, all defense, all-star guard, NBA champion, like defensive player of the year caliber type of player for many years. Like incredible player. That's number two. Jaylen Brown, number 3 overall pick in the NBA draft, should have probably been on third team All NBA this season. Jason Tatum, first team All NBA player. Getting to you in a second. Al Horford, previous All-Star, made it to numerous Eastern Conference Finals with the Atlanta Hawks, just has been very good for an entire career. And then Kristaps Porzingis, an All-Star player, and is just now your 6th man. And then Peyton Pritchard's coming off the bench and hitting Max Strus like threes. Like
there it is. Peyton Pritchard, the X Factor. We called it here, folks.
And Hauser's hit. It's just like
he went 0 for 5 last night. Let's calm down.
Yeah, I guess. Every time he had the ball in a shooting motion, I was like, well, that's fucking in. And he missed it, and I was like...
Because he does the D'Angelo Russell where he catches it like at his head and just throws it
up. I was like,
it's incredible.
Oh, yeah, that's in. And he missed all of them last night, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, cool, I guess.
Back to earth.
Yeah, but this Celtics team is just constructed in a way that no one else is constructed. They just have depth and all-star pieces pretty much everywhere. Not everyone has that. Like the Mavericks have Kyrie and Luka, and that's an incredible start. That'll get you very far, very clearly. They're in the NBA Finals, but PJ Washington hasn't made an All NBA defensive team or an All NBA team or an All Star. Like no one has made an All Star team like on this roster outside of those two guys. None of them. Yeah. Derrick Jones Jr. won a dunk contest, if you want to count that. He was at All Star Weekend.
Very underrated dunk contest.
Yeah, and forget. He's awesome. I love him very much. But like no one's made an All-Star team. So you can see the quality of play is different from Dallas' side to Boston's side because while Boston has been constructed from the beginning of the season and Dallas had to make the trade deadline, like it was very pivotal. Then you get Gafford and Lively's a rookie and PJ's just showing up. So like there's chemistry and also like skill issue, like depth issue, essentially. Like they just aren't all-stars yet. And they could be one day. They could be next year or the year after that. Like continuity and growth could help this team. But as of right now, Boston is just playing an all-time level. Jason Tatum. Buddy. So you take more shots than Luka Doncic. Or one more shot, or equal shots last night, game 2. You scored 14 points less, I believe. Sick. Terrible shooting percentage as well. You said it's not about an ego thing or scoring. Why are you getting all this hate? Well, you take the same amount of shots as the other number 1 guy. You score 14 points less, and you basically put up the same numbers, assists and rebounds wise. You were impacting the game that way. You played just as shitty defense as Luka Doncic. I mean, the Mavericks are scoring 75% from their field goals against Jason Tatum in the NBA Finals. Luka's 50%. He is hunting Jason Tatum on defense.
Speak on it.
Everyone is hunting Jason Tatum on defense. I do not want to hear the two-way shit, except for about Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Derek White. Talk about those guys on two-way. Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford. Talk about the rest of the Boston Celtics when you talk about capable two-way all-stars. Not fucking Jason Tatum. Put Jaylen Brunson on first team All NBA. Take Jason Tatum and put him on third team. I don't give a fuck what happens. This is garbage. I don't understand it. And he's bitching about it at the press conference. Did you look at the numbers? Do you understand how bad you've been on defense in the NBA Finals so far? Do you understand that you're not carrying the offensive load like you think you are, but you're taking 7 more shots than the next closest person on your team in game 2? And you're doing your team a disservice by taking 7 more shots. Just give Drew Holiday the ball. He went 12 for 13 or something. Like, he just scored every bucket that he got. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. You let it out, and I feel the exact same things that you feel.
Everyone
Jason
does.
Tatum is shooting.
Everyone does.
What is he shooting? 35% in his 7 finals games? Eight
finals games, and it's 33.7% is the worst percentage by an all-star or all-NBA player in their finals career. It's legit. It's literally the worst. Someone pulled the stat today, and he's at the top.
I love this.
It's
let me just bring this into play here, and I've had this tweet bookmarked. This goes back to your Mavericks, but it has a personal connection to me. Kyrie Irving in this series, 14 points a game.
Yep.
35 shooting, 35% shooting, excuse me. Mavs are averaging 94 points a game, if you want to round up, 93.5. Daniel Boobie Gibson is averaging 15.5 points a game on 62% shooting in the 2007 NBA Finals.
Good for him.
We know they got swept. That's okay.
Yeah.
Not the point. I loved Daniel Boobie Gibson growing up. I think he maybe played for 6 years. He was on the same level to me as Rockets legend Luther Head or Rockets legend Rafer Alston.
Yeah.
Guys that you just fell in love with for whatever reason. It's why I will go on Hoop Grids and try and have any reason to put Luis Scola, Carl Landry, Von Wafer onto my Hoop Grids, and just seeing those stats just in my face last night, it really made me feel something. And I know I said that Kyrie can't have a bad game after game 1. We know that it happened during game 2.
Yep.
But the chakras are aligning. The Mavericks are coming home. Speaking of the Euros, England, it's coming home, Dallas. It's possible that you guys can win 2 here. I really think in my heart of hearts, it could be a 50-50 shot you guys win 2. There's the Celtics team is so deep, but they're also beatable, but you have to play a perfect game to beat them, which is so fucking hard to do, especially in today's NBA. We get that there's more offense, but defenses have never been this sounds crazy, but defenses have never been better. There's never been 7'3" guys on the court every time. You had Manute Bol, Rick Smits, that one guy for the Washington Bullets towards the end of that whole thing. Now you're getting guys who are just levels. There's levels to this shit. But the Mavericks can play a perfect game. And if not perfect, then Luka's going to have to drop 50, which we're kind of, I don't want to say do.
I don't know.
But a Luka 50 ball in the finals. Ooh, 1984 crack.
He looks so incredibly hurt. So incredible.
I know.
So last thing on the Jason Tatum thing. He has shot one more time. He has one more field goal attempt than Kyrie and has made one less shot than Kyrie. It's all about fucking narratives in this NBA Finals because Kyrie's having a shitty finals, but Jason Tatum's been elite. What are we talking about?
Well, nobody's saying that Jason Tatum is elite. That he's
just like, Jason Tatum. He may not have shot the ball well, but look at all the play. Like, he's not playing defense, and Kyrie, I mean, he's not the best defense either. I just wanted to point that out. Yeah, going back to Dallas. So let's just say this: we've played 2 incredibly terrible games on the defensive end and on the offensive end. You lose by 18 in game 1. That was a blowout from the beginning. You're down 29 or 30 or whatever it was. That was a blowout. Wash that one away. Worst game of the postseason. That's fine. Game 2, you shot 23% from 3. No one helped on offense. Like Daniel Gafford, I mean, he made his dunks. He should have gotten some foul calls that he didn't get. And PJ Washington should have gotten a foul call at the end of the game. It's okay. Referees are going to get in their way in Boston. If they get in Boston's way in Dallas, then it's going to be even. I'm good as long as we just start getting some even called games, or even if it goes towards Dallas's way. The fact that you only lost by 7, 5, whatever it was in game 2, and you played horribly, like horribly. I mean, Luka had a bunch of turnovers that were dumb. PJ had a bunch of turnovers that, like, everyone just had stupid turnovers, more turnovers than anything. Boston had 10 steals. Like, they had a bunch of block shots. Like, you just minimize that and make your free throws, you win the game. Like, you have 2 less turnovers and 2 made threes and 1 extra made free throw, you win the game. That's the swing. That's the swing right there.
Yeah.
And you played
Sure.
Like, you played horrible. Drew Holiday had an open layup every possession. Derek White was just blocking shots out of nowhere. I mean, played horrible. And you got lucky. I mean, Boston didn't make their threes, but you played horrible and had a chance to win. And if you just turn the ball over 2 less times and you make 2 threes, all of a sudden that's your win right there. Just make an open 3 or 2, and all of a sudden you win the game. So it was discouraging in game 1, but I was like, it's game 1. We suck in game 1s. Like, we had a 20-point loss. We had an 18-point loss. We had a 12-point loss in game 1 this postseason. We're like, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. And then Luka goes for 20 in the first quarter, or 18 or whatever it was. I was like, I think we're fine, boys. I think we're good. And then we weren't. So, yeah, it's discouraging going down 2-0. But, I mean, only 5% of NBA finals that have gone to 2-0, the other team has won. The team that's down 0-2, only 5% of those teams have gone on to win the NBA Finals. And one of them happened against the Dallas Mavericks 2006. So people forget.
People do forget that we're on this level of copium where you're just shitting on your own team's history.
Yeah.
To further hope, further manifest something. And I think that's great for you because if I was down 0-2 in the finals, especially like you mentioned, these games are winnable. I don't know by how much. I don't know how perfect of a game you need to play. Sure, it's a matter of 2 possessions, 3 possessions, but you can nitpick any real close game and be like, oh, Miles Turner shouldn't have gotten fucking fouled on this 3-pointer, or this should have been a 4-point play, but it went off the rim. Like, small little things go into these games, and that does matter, right?
Right.
But we're here, and it's okay. You're down 0-2, but there is a way you can claw back, and I think that way is somewhat conceivable.
Yeah. I mean, role players play better at home. It's like a known thing. Like, everyone across the NBA is like, role players play so much better at home during the playoffs. So it's what it is. Right. It's how it works. For some reason, that's what they do. So, I mean, if you get PJ and Derek Jones Jr. going, if Derek Lively has a good game, if Daniel Gafford has a good, like, something can happen where one of those guys scores 20 points and you just win the game by 10, 15 even. Like, if one of those guys scores 20 points and Kyrie and Luka are just Kyrie and Luka, like normal Kyrie, just point that out. Yeah, you win a game by 10 or 15 at home and then see what happens in game 4. And if you can win that, then best of 3 series. And you got to win one in Boston and 1 at home at that point, or both in Boston and lose at home. Like, gets a little terrifying if it's a best of 3 series. It's already terrifying. You're down 2-0, but
right.
It's the NBA Finals. Anything can happen. We've seen it happen before. I mean, LeBron and Kyrie were down 3-1 against the most winningest team in the regular season, and they ended up winning the finals. Like, shit just happens in NBA Finals, and I'm not going to say it's going to happen in this NBA Finals, but it could. There's still a possibility.
Sure.
But if they go down 3-0, Cancun, boys, I'm getting the golf clubs out. For myself, I've already happy out, but I don't play NBA basketball. So.
I was saying, no, you were going at it. You were going at it last week, and
I was back in.
God willing, yeah, I'm so glad you were at it, and God willing, it gets somewhat cooler eventually. We're in the dog days already. Thank God the NBA and NHL are still on, but come a week or 2 from now, we're gonna be like, oh, that's 2 more months of this. 95 with a real feel of 110. Yeah. I know it's a drier heat where you're at, and that's not fun either because I've heard plenty of horror stories of heat stroke at the old Rangers Stadium as well as Cowboy Stadium before there was a roof. Bad stuff, not fun stuff. But I just love your constant relative positivity here, but not like you're not making this completely like unobtainable. I know the copium is running real strong, which again, I would too. I get it, but it's doable. You can beat this team. You have to do a lot to beat this team. But if Boston just goes out to Dallas and wins 2, I wouldn't be surprised. If Dallas wins 1 or let's say 2, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised either. This has all the fixings for a really good series, and I still believe that can happen, even though the Mavericks are down 0-2 and not necessarily the most fun of games.
Yeah, And I don't know, Boston had like a 122 offensive rating this season in the regular season. In the playoffs, obviously, that comes down to probably 116, 115 is probably the average during the playoffs. I mean, they're holding them under that. They're doing what they can on defense. Like
Yeah.
they're making them miss shots, however it may be. Maybe they're just missing open shots. Maybe they're playing good defense, and it is what it is. Like they're capable of winning these games, and we saw it in the Minnesota Dallas series that like Minnesota was capable of winning those games, and they just didn't win any of them, or they ended up winning Game 4, but like it was pretty much over before then anyway. It's already 3-0. So
Yeah.
it's like sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't, and maybe it goes our way when we're in Dallas, and maybe it doesn't. TBD. We'll see later this week, Wednesday, right? So
Yep.
it's tough. I don't like being down 2-0. Like that sucks. It's not fun.
Not ideal.
But there's ways to get back into the series, and if you can win 2 in Dallas, and all of a sudden it's just completely brand new. Don't just win 1. You got to win 2.
Yep.
No one's ever come back from 3-0. And I know we saw it in 2004 in baseball. Never seen it in basketball. So
Baseball is a very different game.
So much different because
Yeah.
so much different. And the ball bounces different over in baseball. But
Yep.
yeah, the NBA Finals, I mean, at least Game 2 was entertaining for the most part. And they got the little comeback towards the end and made it almost a 3-point game if they had gotten a foul call. Tony Brothers looking at you.
There it is.
Can't help it sometimes, Josh. I can't help it. And it's not the refs' fault. Like, we missed our free throws and we turned the ball over too much. Sure, the refs didn't help, but if you don't do those two things, you can still win the game. You don't have to worry about the refs at that point. Do the right things, the right time, the right place. I mean, shit happens your way if you do that. But, yeah, NBA Finals. If this series goes 7, we only have 10 more days of basketball. June 20th is Game 7. Obviously, we have the Olympics this summer, so we will have basketball at some point. I don't know what time those games are being played, though, is the problem, since it's in Paris. It's a 7-hour time difference from Central Standard Time, God's time zone. So I don't know when those games are going to be played. Hopefully, it's like 5 in the morning. I can't do like 3 in the morning or 2.
Well, wait. No. Wouldn't it be like 5 p.m.? Not our time. Not 5 p.m. Like 1 p.m. because in France it's like 7 hours ahead.
Yeah,
it's not like this is like Tokyo where you're watching like
like
canoeing at 3 in the morning. Like no, these games will be happening during our day, just their night. I'd imagine.
I was a swimmer for the listener or viewer that didn't know, so I always dialed into the swimming. Maybe I'm just thinking about swimming being at 5 a.m. because Tokyo was rough. That's like
right.
I don't know how many hour difference. That's a lot of hours over there in Tokyo. But
yep.
So we'll have Olympics this summer. We'll have the NBA draft. We got free agency. So there's things to look forward to, but I'm going to miss it. It's been a fun season so far.
You're down 2-0, man. This could go any way. Like it's not over.
It's not.
Come on. Let's be happy.
Yeah, it's not over. But if we lose Game 3, it's most definitely over.
Very over.
So over. And I will financially never recover from this, as the Tiger
right.
say. Yeah, but NBA Finals down 2-0. Got a shot. We're not dead yet. Fuck Boston, as Winning Time would say, and pretty much all of LA from the 80s through the 2010s, you'd say. Maybe even right now. Maybe they're still saying it. I have all of those Winning Time memes saved to my phone, and I just need to use them in a confident manner like I was before Game 1. Can I use them again, please, Dallas? Can I just use the memes? That's all I'm asking.
I know. You're almost there. Just 2 more and anything can happen.
Anything.
I would like to say before we get out of here,
yes.
Shout out to you. Your fit is incredibly Italian today. And I just wanted to let that out for the viewer or for the listener, excuse me. He is in almost a silky green and white like jacket we got going on.
So,
what is this, a quarter zip? What's going on? Oh, Nike logo. Wow.
It's a Huntsville, Alabama country club vintage, like mid 2000s, early 2010s, maybe.
That'll work.
The thick tech Nike fleece quarter zips. So it's got the warm on the inside, got the air conditioning blasting in here since we're in Texas.
Awesome.
Yeah, I took a shower and I didn't want to put a shirt on, so I put this on.
Respect. Yeah. Good gold chain on deck too. You're Stony DeVito. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, what are we talking about? Yeah,
love it.
NBA Finals are still going on. We'll be back after Game 4, right? Game 4,
something like that.
Yeah, I think after Game 4,
we'll figure it out.
Somewhere in that off days before Game 5, we'll be back to recap game 3 and 4 in Dallas. And then after that, we're going to do an episode every game. If we go to game 7,
we're here.
We're going to have 3 more episodes like that and then an off season.
Let's hope.
So I hope we get another 4 episodes. That'd be great. I would love that. I would love that tremendously, or I would hate it so much after game 7. Either way. Shout out to Big City Wings, Houston's wing joint, Apollo's wing joint. Go check them out if you're in the Houston area. And shout out to Prize Picks. Use code Apollo when you sign up. Get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy app. Go use them. Go get your Big City Wings because they have the best wings in Houston. Josh, thank you for joining me as always. This has been Zero Gravity, Apollo Media's NBA podcast.